Hello, this is Dread from Epic Builds. In today's video topic, we're going to go over the finished product of my Judgment Consecrated Aura Holy Trail Javelin build. And as you can tell in the behind of the footage, it's doing really well. Before we move on to the video, I'd like to ask you guys if you enjoy my builds or enjoy this build specifically. I would heavily suggest liking the video and commenting down below, as that's the best way to support me and to tell YouTube that I'm doing a good job. With that being said, let's get into the intro, shall we? So for this build, pretty much what we're doing is we're utilizing Judgment Consecrated Aura to scale our endgame DPS. So normally Judgment starts off with a 7 flat damage, but it actually gets a bunch of more damage thanks to healing effectiveness scaling. So each 1% of healing effectiveness is a 1% more modifier to the damage. We utilize this plus a lot of other more damage modifiers to scale our consecrated aura into the moon up to about 360,000 DPS. It can go much higher than this if you just get a little bit more scaling. My gear is kind of bad. I'm missing one healing effectiveness idol. This could get much better than what I'm showing right now. And obviously, this is a really good contender for pushing high corruption, as you do not have to worry about dodge. You don't have to worry about crit avoidance. Slow and chill have been pretty much negated by the existence of the cleanse potion. So pretty much you could actually just run through monoliths with this. They also just buffed Holy Trail. They turned the cooldown from 4 to 3, making it a lot easier to clear monoliths with, which is, it is your clear. It deals a little bit less damage than your Judgment does, but it makes it so that you can clear much faster. Because if you didn't know, Judgment kind of has a small AoE, but you can kind of handle it if you get enough movement speed and you utilize a Holy Trail. And Holy Trail is a spell that's gotten from Javelin. It gives you lightning/fire damage over time with adaptive spell damage, and it also scales from healing effectiveness, and it's actually, like I said, the main way we clear, and it also gives our Judgment more damage. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the intro this time. Like I said, we already did the other video as well, so we're just going to get into the build guide here. Alright, here we are in game with the build. Like I said, the name Stronghold Crusader because it's my favorite childhood game. So just to showcase the DPS here, we actually got buffed this patch. Consecrated Ground actually got a 14% increased damage upgrade, and Javelin actually has less of a cooldown. So I'm just going to show you the damage here real quick. Oh, I messed up. There you go, 400,000. I have to actually stand next to the enemy to kill them. Yeah, that's one of the issues with Consecrated Aura, but we're just going to get right into it here. So we take 2 points travel into Sanctified Serenity for the increased healing. This is multiplicative, I believe, multiplicative with all of your other healing effect. So for instance, we start out with 50 healing per second, then this brings it up to 75, then all of our healing is multiplied by our healing effectiveness. 4 points into Lingering Force. This allows us to bring our Consecrated Ground. It lasts as long as our cooldown does, which is pretty much good enough. Then 1 point into Anointed, so it turns our Judgment into an aura, the Consecrated Ground aura, obviously, right? Then we take 2 points travel into Sacred Sword, does nothing, just travel. 2 points into Swift Verdict. The cooldown recovery speed's nice because it helps us link up the duration plus the cooldown, but like not too necessary. Then 4 points into Flaming Soul, so that Consecrated Ground deals 100% more damage, pretty much just double our damage. Then 5 points into Pious Offering. So the reason why we're running this node is it consumes all of our mana whenever we use Judgment, and then it gives us a more damage buff for the Consecrated Aura equal to 2% times per flat mana you have, so it's about 800% more damage with just this node. You can scale this even higher if you get more mana on your gear, but you do need to run mana and healing effectiveness at the same time, so it makes your gear a little bit hard to craft. And that's pretty much it for Judgment. For Javelin here, we take 1 point travel into Mighty Delivery, 1 point travel into Burning Strength, 5 points into Spear to the Thigh. Javelin deals more damage over time, and I believe this applies to Holy Trail. Javelin now leaves behind a Holy Trail that deals fire and lightning damage, so that's what this is, and it does a bunch of damage, and it also heals you for a bunch as well. 1 point into Path of Judgment so that it gains more damage equal to your healing effectiveness, which we're scaling thanks to Judgment as well. So there's a bit of synergy there. Then 3 points into Pilgrimage for 45% more damage with our Holy Ground. Obviously, it's not dealing anywhere near as much damage as Judgment, but it's there for our clear. Then, of course, 2 points travel into Serrated Javelin, 1 point travel into Excellent Balance, 1 point travel into Perfect Setup, then 4 points into Sacred Forge, making our next Judgment attack deal 6% more damage. And yes, this does apply to the Consecrated Aura as well. So Javelin's really strong for this. Then for our Volatile Reversal, it's your stereotypical Volatile Reversal setup, like I said, just not running Warp Time because we don't care about attack speed, getting the 60% increased damage over time taken and a 30% here for insane amounts of damage. Then, of course, Holy Aura. Holy Aura, the main things we care about is the redemption for the increased healing. We get slow from Demoralizing Aura, which is even better thanks to our atrophy. So things are slowed around us so we can walk around them easier. Then, of course, 2 points travel into Raya's Devotion, and then 2 points to Fire Pen. So if we click the Holy Aura button, we can actually get an extra 10% pen, which is actually kind of strong for us, as pen's one of the best ways of scaling our damage. Then, of course, we have Shield Bash. We take 2 points travel into Dazed, 1 point travel into Broughton Shield, 3 points into Disarming Blows to apply Frailty to bosses mainly, 1 point travel into Flame Coating, then 4 points into Kindling. Now, Kindling here gives our Consecrated Aura 200% more damage because Judgment is a melee fire skill, and it will give our Consecrated Aura that's procced from Judgment 200% more damage. So, for instance, we'll be dealing about 74,000 normal with just Judgment and Volatile Reversal. But if I use my Shield Bash and then do it, we're getting 200,000 damage. Now, if they were to nerf something about Judgment, they would probably nerf the interaction between Kindling and obviously the Consecrated Aura. Now, if they do this in the future, if you're watching in the future, mainly it's fine, because you have plenty of damage anyways at like 200, 140,000, 200,000. So you're only like, you kind of have an overkill of damage anyways with Shield Bash. And instead of Shield Bash, you could run something like Sigils of Hope for more increased damage, for armor and stuff. I'm just playing with Shield Bash because I'm being irresponsible and want to see the big ticks. Now, for passives here, we take 8 points into Fearless for the Vitality because we want HP. 5 points on Armorclad for DR, 5 points into Gladiator because we are running a shield, so we get the block chance and block effectiveness. 2 points into, and then 2 points into Valiant Charge for just some extra HP. We take 1 point into Seal Aegis to get the block chance from here because we are running a shield, like I said. 10 points into Abyssal Endurance to give us Void and Physical Res, as well as giving us Volatile Reversal as well, which we require for the build to function, because if we use our Judgment, consume our mana, and not use Reversal, we're actually out of mana, and you have to wait for your mana to come back, which have fun with that. Most of the time, it's better just to log out and log back in than waiting. So have fun with that mistake if you make it. Then, of course, 8 points into Conviction for the Fire and Lightning Pen. This affects your Javelin as well. 8 points into Defiance. The reason why is because Judgment scales off of healing effectiveness, and each point of attunement gives you 4% healing effectiveness with Judgment. So that's on top of the healing effectiveness that we already have, which is about 887. So this will be about 1,000 healing effectiveness with that attunement, which is really strong. We want as much attunement as possible with this build while we can scale everything else. 1 point travel into Honor, 4 points into Valor for HP and healing effectiveness, 10 points to Heaven Fire. Since we're using a shield, this will apply to Holy Trails damage over time. 5 points into Repair. We can obviously fill this out later on once we have more levels. 6 points into Holy Simple. 2 points into Dedication. We're going to want to fill this out later on because we want as much attunement as possible. Like I said, 8 points into Sanctuary Guardian for 16 extra flat and some armor. 1 point into Shield Wall for the block chance because we're not dodging anyways. Then 12 points into Reverence of Duality. This is the best node on the tree for us because the 24% increased mana gives us more mana to consume with Judgment, which will make us deal more damage. The healing effectiveness will make us deal more damage. The increased damage will make us deal more damage, and then increased health is obviously just there as an extra. Like I said, for the rest of the levels, you just want to fill out all these points, probably. Fill out conviction, fill out prayer, fill out dedication as well. And then let's talk about gear. So for idols, the most important idol, this is like your best in slot idol. This is the best idol I've dropped for this build. This is the best one. You want 4 of these, and then you want 4 of the mini ones with like 16% healing effectiveness, 17 actually. And you just want as much healing effectiveness as possible with this build. Then for the helmet, we want increased mana, attunement, increased health, endurance. For the amulet, I was able to get it on an Oracle amulet base, but you could obviously get it on a different base. The Oracle amulet base isn't too special. We get the increased elemental damage over time, which scales both of our damage effects from Holy Trail and Judgment, Consecrated Aura, healing effectiveness, which scales both our damage. For the suffixes, you probably want health and some resistance. Then for the wand, we want to run a crystal wand because it gives us 53 flat mana, which is insanely strong. We want to run a wand because we're using the Holy Trail to do our clear. And to get the Holy Trail to do our clear, we need to have adapted spell damage. We want increased damage over time or elemental damage. And increased elemental damage over time is very strong. One of the main reasons we use a wand is because it gives you an insane amount of increased elemental damage over time. Then, of course, for the shield, you want block chance, heal effectiveness, res, endurance. For the shield itself, it's like just, might as well grab some block chance. You can run a better shield than this, run some more like poison res on the suffix here, so you don't have to run a carapace, and you could just run something else. It's just poison res actually matters now, so you probably want it. For the chest, this is your most important part. You want flat mana, attunement, HP, and HP, because the attunement scales your damage, the mana gives you more mana. It's actually a lot of mana. I'll show you. It's like, I think it's like 100 mana just from the chest alone. And to put that in perspective, that's about 33% more damage just having the chest on with mana. It's really strong. Increased healing effectiveness, increased elemental damage over time, block chance, endurance. Same thing on the other ring. I got some crit avoidance to kind of cap out. There will be a finished planner down below, by the way. For the belt, we want the cleanse, the increased elemental damage over time, HP. And then for the gloves, we're running a pair of atrophies because that 24% pen against all resistances for damage over time applies to all of our damage over time. This is actually really strong for any build that isn't using Salt the Wounds, so let me show you. So we're doing like 60,000, 40,000, right? So if I put this on, we're doing about 70,000. That's pretty strong. It's a lot of pen. Terra's Path, you could run this or you could run a pair of boots with mana on it. Either way, it works. I'm just running this because it's cheap and it gives us movement speed, which we need because we're kind of like an RF build, or our AoE is really small, so we want as much movement speed as possible to make up for that. Then, of course, for Solar Commandment, I never dropped a good one. You probably want +1 Judgment or +5 Judgment because it gives healing effectiveness, the elemental damage over time, obviously, the res. You want it on the Solar Commandment because it gives increased fire damage, which only scales mainly our consecrated ground from Judgment, and also gives us increased healing effectiveness as well, allowing us to stack healing effectiveness to the moon. All right, with that being said, I want to thank you all for coming around for my build guide here. Have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you're at, and bye!